more, just like we were pushing the AP class. So then we'll be ready for mainstream class. Pads. We will
and we all had to do weekly reflections on which we had to send it to her, and she will like see what we did, what we were reading, what part we were reading, and everything. But at the end, like at the mid, I actually got more because I was in the and I start on level. I actually many students start like asking me for help, and it will be easier to understand. So I talked to her, and she was like, yeah, you can help them, and that's when I started to mentor them, and I actually like felt that gratification of helping other students that were or are in my shoes, that the shoes that I was a few years back, and after that I started actually showing the students on my weekly reflections and how they were growing, how their writing skills, reading skills were growing, and actually how they will um, do more work because of that. And yeah, actually, that's what I did.
Good morning. My name is Fatim Zara, and I'm gonna talk about like my experience in this class. So after taking the advanced placement class for English language learners, like we presented last year, like I built strength in philosophical literature, and like which I didn't find like another class in the school that I can take where I can have like a curriculum for philosophical literature. So thanks to Ms. Chana, I was able to take this class and develop my own curriculum, like discovering my area of focus in philosophical literature and also in coming of age literature. So with her guidance, she suggested some books like The Stranger by Albert Camus. I love this book because like the author explains the idea of absurdism after presenting many events in his life. So like you get to understand what is absurdism through events in life and not just like given a whole idea of what it is like you're in a philosophical class. I was so the structure in this class that was mainly creating sections on my book and like assigning myself deadlines. So I was responsible to finish like each section in the deadline I assigned myself, and like Miss Chana always checked my work at the end if I finished on the deadlines that I assigned myself, that I was able to do them. That was like not like a real struggle, but like just a little bit. But that's how like that was my takeaway from this class. I learned how to like be responsible and like get my work done, according to the like deadlines I assigned myself. What was more interesting about this class is that like meanwhile working on our task and like describing the area of focus we liked, I was able to help lower proficient students that are like I was in their seats before. Like I feel like we all of us have a more understanding of the situation since like we've been ELL students before and like we still are kinda, but like so you get to know like what like they really need. So it's like the same thing. Like you think of yourself when you've been in their seats before, so you know what you needed at that time when you were in their seats. So like I feel like they get more confident. So like they see it's kind of we are a role model for them. So they know like they will know like we really know their struggle and like we feel them. So they're like more confident to ask questions and like ask questions. Like many times we use Google Translate since I don't talk Spanish and like stuff, but they don't feel shy when asked questions. So I feel like that was a great experience and like that was a great opportunity to like in both ways for me and like giving back to my community. So like for me, I was able to discover my area of focus, and for them, I was able to give back to my community and like help them like doing the both things in the same time.
So my experience with the independent study, when I wanted to create my own curriculum, I wanted to focus on philosophical studies of absurdism in Western literature, and I got inspired by a book I read in the AP class last year called The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. So I wanted to focus on this area, and because of Mishana, I was able to take this independent study where I could find out more about this topic. So when when I was in the independent study class, Samael was at the moment too, and I was with him, and I got really inspired by him helping the lower level students, and I was like, I want to do that too, and so so I started helping the level 2 kids, and I could pass on my knowledge from the AP class since I actually learned a lot of things that the other students that didn't have the opportunity could learn. I also learned that the independent study has to be flexible because when I first intended to take the independent study, I wanted to do it just for a quarter, but then my guidance counselor and my teacher were very flexible on that, and I could continue doing it.
That's me. One thing that I got from this class, my name is Gabriel. One thing that I got from this class was that we had a lot of freedom while doing this independent study. I think that was essential for us to feel free and actually do the stuff we liked. So when I first decided the independent study classes, I was focusing dystopian literature and how our society today could become a dystopian society. And so I read books that focus on that. And I wasn't actually feeling after a month or so doing the reflections. I was like, okay, I love dystopian fiction, I love science fiction, but is that actually like what I wanted to do? And like they all have been saying, Michelle would let us shift and change things so we can adapt the independent studies to the way we want it. And then I was like, I could try to focus on something for my future because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with college. I'm still not fully sure yet, but I wanted to change my focus to photography and videography and to look to career paths, things that I could do after high school. And not only she helped me look for like videos and stuff that could teach me more about the subject, she also lent me a camera so that I could go out and take pictures. Oh, she will write me notes so then I can use the computer, the school computer, so then I can edit videos and try stuff out. Um, Now, I think the highlight of this class was getting to co-teach and develop a class with Michelle. We teach this book that was also the first book we learned in the AP class. It's called Dante and Our Star Discovered the Secrets of the Universe. And it was such a great experience because I kind of got to be like a teacher. I learned how it is to be a teacher. And I learned how it is not an easy work. But the experience you get from actually communicating, interacting with the students, even though they have to do the work and stuff like that, just the feedback and the way they look at you, they respect you was such a great feeling. So the way we developed this class, I wanted to mention is I wanted to do something that we would focus on creativity, because I'm going to explain that later again, but I feel like the school system in general is more focused in productivity rather than creativity. And I feel like that way you just kind of become a robot, kind of. It's just like you're trying to just get stuff done and you're not actually getting trusted by it. So the way we developed this class, we're trying to focus, yes, they had to do work and stuff like essays and stuff like that. But we also wanted to create things that will get them interested in the book. This book is also, it tells a story about like a teenager. So it's a coming of age story. And it's a teenager that he doesn't know too much about himself. And I feel like that book would get students interested in subjects since they're also teenagers and they still like discovering themselves since they're really young. So yeah, we wanted to focus on creativity, and it was great because you would see that they actually enjoyed the class. They would come at you and they were like, "Oh, I like this subject we did today," or "We like this activity that we did today," because we would do activities that would have discussions, and that was one of the things they wanted to do. I wanted to do things. I want to create and develop a class where the students also they would do what they wanted to do, basically. So in the beginning of the year, we had this voting system, which they were voting in things in English that they wanted to learn the most, and the top two things were pronunciation of words in English and writing. So based on that, we created the class focusing on that too, but also creating fun activities.
So for me, on my independent study, I was really anxious about graduating because senior year can be really stressful, especially when you don't know like at least an area of interest that you like. So Miss China knew that I was like struggling since the beginning of the year. So because of the independent study, I wanted to focus specifically in career connections. So, but I knew at first that I wanted to focus on understanding human behavior through literature. So Ms. Chan and I looked through some books and some novels that would help me understand that better. Not just like reading articles and stuff, but actually like reading and connecting to real life. So we last year we read a lot of the Flies and of Mice and Men, and I liked that because it describes like human instincts and stuff that actually help in real life, because like that's how humans are. So then we went to days in the lives of social workers because since social workers work so much with people, I thought like I liked that. So I started reading that book, and although I like the idea of working and helping others, as I was reading through the book and they were describing these situations that social workers deal with on a daily basis, they were really difficult. So I immediately knew that I couldn't imagine myself in those situations because they were really, really hard and really challenging situations. And emotionally speaking, like I feel like I couldn't be able to handle that. So I knew social work just wasn't for me, but still I knew the idea of helping people and working with the community was something that I was interested in. So then we moved into Whoever Fights Monsters, that basically describes the job of FBI agents and how they take specific people and they try to understand their childhood and how they were raised and what problems they may have, and then they can like develop a treatment or a way to predict their next actions. So they don't only focus on like, oh yeah, criminals. No, they focus on you as a human and how like your mind works basically. So I really like the book, and since like again I wasn't decided, I felt like that law enforcement field was the way to go for me. I like working with people and understanding behavior, but also working like with laws and like police and things like that. I like. So like right now, I'm sure I want that field. I don't know exactly what job, but because of thanks to this independent study and thanks to Miss Chana's help, I was able to go from one place to another. But then finally, I got to like this conclusion of a career that it's gonna help me in the future. And now that I'm graduating, at least I know what path I wanna go in.
For me, it was a little bit different because I didn't plan to take the independent study last year. I just saw that many of the kids that were in the AP class last year were taking it, so I decided to do it too. But when I got to the class, I was thinking that there was more important things to do than just sit in the corner and read a book by yourself, because the classes are very big. There are about 36 students in a class, so not all of them are gonna understand a topic or what Miss Chana is explaining or something, or they might be afraid to ask questions because they, like when you start to talk in English, you feel, I don't know, like embarrassed that you might be wrong, so they start to feel ashamed and know that, and they don't ask questions just for that. So I decided to help them, and I will explain what Miss Chana said or clarify their questions or something. And I became a tutor for the MCAS for the students that I'm gonna talk about that later a little more. I also helped them with a backdrop to build for a tailor play. And I had to do reflections about the class, but they weren't about like something that I was reading, like about a book or anything. They were more like about the class and what I did with the students and how do I feel about it.
So for Gabriel and I, that's not me.
Alright, so we're going to talk about mentoring through writing. So Veronica and I, we were in the same class for the independent studies, and we actually start helping the other students with their research papers, because most of them, they actually didn't know what a research paper was, and we start like helping them, explaining them what they had to do, and we were actually applying the skills that we learned last year. Also, we used the opportunity, as I just said, we were using the skills that we learned on the past class for on writing college essays. So they had to do an essay at the end of the semester, and they were like struggling, like, what are we gonna do? How we do this? And yeah, they almost cried now. But yeah, they were struggling a lot, and we actually they were approaching us and asked what should we do, and yeah. So Veronica is gonna talk a little bit more about it.
So yeah, as Samantha said, we help the lower level students with the research paper because we actually did a research paper in the AP class, so it was easy for us to explain and help with their work. Another thing that helped a lot too was that we felt empathy with the lower level students because we were in that position a few years back, so they feel comfortable with us, and they approach us more because we speak their language and we're students too, and we were in that position, so we can relate to them, and because sometimes they are afraid of talking to the teachers, and so yeah, that was really helpful.
So for Gabriel and I, we were working with ELL2. We were specifically focusing on the kids on transitional class. So they were on the last level of ELL, and they were going into mainstream. So because in my personal experience, when I was in transitional class, I knew I wanted to stay in that class for as long as I could because I was kind of afraid to go into mainstream classes. Not because I didn't feel comfortable speaking English, and I thought that I wasn't going to be able to complete the work or make friends or stuff like that. I mean, you get afraid. So a lot of students go through that, and they try to stay there for as long as they can. If they can stay there for their whole high school career, they
will try.
They will try to. So we didn't want students to feel that way because we wanted to make them feel as if they were capable of it. We wanted to make them feel intelligent, and they actually, even though they weren't born here, they are capable of doing the work that mainstream students do, and even getting into an AP class and things like that. So we wanted them to feel more confident, and we did it through helping them improve their listening and speaking skills, because a lot of them were shy to talk. Even though they knew how to talk, they just didn't want to, or they were afraid to make a mistake and then people making fun of them or something. So we wanted to focus on specifically those two skills through our course.
So we also had, like I said before, we also focus on discussion and debates. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So, in order to do so, first of all, we didn't want to give them just a reading test because, again, we wanted them to talk and express themselves. So we used this technique that's the MSTD groups, which is making students think invisible, and that's something that we used last year in the AP class. So still, we were discussing about books and making connections to real life or to the past or events in history, but it's in groups. And they're getting tested, we're going around the room checking if they talk or not, what ideas they're coming up with, but they're talking to their classmates and they're sharing their ideas out loud instead of putting it in a paper.
Yeah, so in addition to what Samara just said, we all had discussion and debates, and because we felt like we as the students, we had this perspective that we felt like we didn't learn as much when we were just writing things writing down the paper instead of actually sharing our thoughts and sharing our opinions and understanding about the books. And so we have discussions and debates in the class where the kids will present their ideas and their perspective about certain topics in the book. And yeah, it was such a great experience because sometimes they will try to talk over other people because they are so engaged in the class, and it was just a mess, but it was such a great experience. We also tutored students who had needed extra help. So yeah, as a co-teacher, as a teacher I wanted to, we also when the teacher, I didn't know that from my perspective from a student, but as a teacher, I could see that there were some students who needed extra help. There's those students that they would be so shy in the corner, and they would try to act like everything is normal, everything seems normal, but he's not getting the point. Or when you're reading his work, or when you listen to what he's saying, he's unsure about what he's saying. He's just saying things because he hears from other students that are sitting beside him, and just tries to copy them to try to fit in. And so we had some students like that, and the way we engaged with them, the way we tried to fix that was really sitting with them in a corner and trying to actually try to make them understand and make sure they were they felt free enough to talk about their own ideas and not actually copy from other students. So I had this kid that he didn't feel like talking, and when he talked, he would present the same ideas other student was presenting. So I sat him in the corner one day, and I was like, why? Why don't you talk about your own ideas and stuff like that? And he said, I'm afraid of people mocking me, or I'm afraid of saying something wrong, or I would say, I'm gonna mispronounce an English word. And I was like, nobody here is gonna judge you. like we all the same over here, and you can express whatever ideas you think is right, and you don't have to worry about other people's opinion. Like, so I feel like making the students feel comfortable not only with the teacher but like with people around them is really important with interaction and understanding about the class.
Okay, me and Diana were like responsible to work and prepare for the MCAS, since like the MCAS is like the most worry for everyone in the class to like it's the first step to graduate high school. So of course everybody wanna pass the MCAS, but like they want to, but sometimes even if you want something but you can't, you're not able of. So like they needed more help, and like so I had to work on open response, and she had to work on the multiple choice questions. So for my part, I had Miss Chana give me 1 week to like prepare for like an ideas for how to teach like open response question. But like I was thinking of like a fun way to teach the open response sounds like when something is fun to do, like you like to do it. So I thought of filling up the space. It was a great idea, since like sometimes you just need someone to give you a head start, so you can start and like do the work. So I was like the first sentence, it was always because like they were always worried about where do I start, how can I like start, how do I talk about like whatever the question is asking for. So I was always saying like start, let's say like you start with the author's name and then the title of the context they gave you. So that's like you always want to give like an idea to the reader, like you pretend they don't know what you're talking about. So like you have to give them an idea of how you're gonna start. Then you start like interpreting the question they give you. So yeah.
For the multiple choice, I just like I will ask my group whether like if they did like quicker when they would answer multiple choice, like if they read the story first or they read the answers, the multiple choice questions. So they will look whether it was easy for them at the beginning, just individual for the moments, and then they answer the questions, and then I will put them in couples, and I like try to find whether do you think this is the answer or that the answer that the other had was the correct one. And after, at the end, I just put it as a whole group, so they will discuss, like, they will try to find, like, different opinions for different people, so they will see, like, something that they didn't notice before that someone else will have, and they will just discuss that for a moment and and will redo the multiple choice again, for just as a whole group. That's what it is. This is fine.
Okay.
So I feel that the curriculum right now isn't like enough, because you always get like you always need to pass 4 math classes, 4 English ones, but those aren't really things that we want. Like we don't like you can have something that you like while doing it, like while completing the curriculum, but it is just like a checklist, like just things that you have to do, not like you only go to school but you don't feel part of it. You know what I mean? Like students, usually the students doesn't even know the opportunities that the school offers, like the internships or the independent studies like this. They don't know about those things. They just think that they have to pass the English classes and that's it. But they don't enroll in the activities that school does.
So what I take from this experience is that it is a good idea for all students to know that they have the opportunity to create their own curriculum by taking an independent study class and focus on an area of their interest. Because sometimes schools only focus on the credits you need in order to graduate. But what about letting students think critically and creatively?
And then what comes after is like when you like the curriculum, you actually do better job. It's like me personally, I've done a better job in this class discovering philosophical literature than like than the way I've done in dystopian literature. That I didn't like dystopian literature. I don't know why, but like when you like the curriculum, there's a more like a better progress in the like in your track.
Alright, so I'm sorry. I started. I thought about doing this because I was like, I have one more credit, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do the same thing, but I was like, nah, I wanna do something else. I wanna give back to the community. I did this not because just like I didn't have anything to do. I just said, but because I had passion. I had passion to help other students, and I believe that while I was doing that, I actually discovered that there were other students that they have actually more passion than the one I have, and they will do greater things that I did. I'm sorry. And yeah, I believe that I actually help many students to discover their new path on the following years of high school.
When I think about specifically ELL, I feel like when they put you on this class and just make you learn MCAS, they think they're actually helping you. But I feel like students should be able to develop their full potential and not just focus on this standard that the school is expecting for. I feel like they're actually bringing students down instead of letting them like do greater things, because there's so much more than just an MCAS score or a test score. Like I always felt like a score doesn't define you, and some people may like that, or some people may like math, or some people may like photography or things like that, and they should be able to discover those things too. So specifically for ELL, I don't think it is fair, because especially because they're not from here and they need to learn English. There are not really that much opportunities for them to develop, and I feel like even if you don't know the language, even if you weren't born here, you still should be able to learn other things and expand your knowledge, and don't just like stick to a score and an MCAS for you to graduate. So I feel like the school should consider that in order to help them more, and at least get them more involved in the school activities and the opportunities that the school can offer them.
Okay, so my takeaway from this class, it has like a really positive side of it and a really negative side of it. The positive side of it is that there's something that I've always believed in through all my years of high school, is that I believe that when the teacher's creative and has the engagement and friendship with the student, the class develops better, and the students actually learn what they're supposed to, if the teacher is doing something different. Because I feel like there's some classes, I'm not saying every class, there's some classes that you only going there to follow a schedule, you're not gonna, there's nothing different. It's almost like you walk into the class, you say you do this work, and then you leave, and that's it. And most of the time, most of the students don't learn anything. So I feel like I've always been a person that questions things in society and stuff like that. That's why I picked dystopian. But like something I've been thinking for a long time is, why is the school system so focused on scores and stuff like that? I feel like in school I felt like that, and I've been that person which doesn't care about learning and care more about the grades and scores. So I was learning stuff, but I wasn't learning stuff because I was interested in it. I was learning stuff because I wanted to get the A+, And I feel like it's almost like the students in today's school environment, it's almost like we're fighting for a leaderboard. Whoever gets to the top is the best, and that's what we have been trained to be. We're just focusing on higher grades and things like that, and not actually like focus on how we learn and how engaged we are with the class, And this is not only with the U.S. School system. It's also with I've been Brazilian schools, and it's the same thing. All we do is just get to the class, do the work. If you do the work the way you're supposed to, you get an A+. And I feel like that's not the way, because like when me and Michelle co-teach this class, we focus on creativity, and we noticed that the students were actually happy, and that's why the co-teaching this class was one of the best experiences I ever had in high school, because it proved my point I proved myself my point that when the students are engaged and they have fun, they actually learn something, you know. It was funny because yesterday was my last day with the class I was co-teaching for the semester, a quarter rather, and they wrote me this note card that was like thanking me for helping them for like the future in their lives and stuff like that, and it was kind of touching, but it was interesting because like when you have a normal class that not usually happens with the teacher. It's not every student. It's not every class that's gonna come up and like write something down to a teacher. The way it works in the school systems today, we just go to the class, get our work done, and that's it. We don't actually have the interaction, the friendship with the teacher, you know. And I'm not only saying that because I'm a teenager and the students they felt they could talk to me. No, I feel like Miss Shun is one of those teachers at school. I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to say that just to say it is actually true, but I feel like even like after school, there's some students in mainstream classes. We're also in mainstream, but there's some students in mainstream classes that don't even have, they never had a class with her, but because she's like, she has this friendship and this, she knows how to interact with the students. It's because the students, that's why the students come up to her and they look up for her, you know. And it was the same thing that happened to me in the independent study class. Just that friendship and the creativity environment is what makes the students actually like get engaged with the school. So now we have
5 minutes for questions.